I was wiping water rings off Mom's dining table when she leaned in and said, "You're not real family." I slid my hand to my tote instead of my throat. My face stayed still, and in my head I pictured the certified copy of the deed, the one with my name as successor trustee and the recorder's stamp from last spring. "Okay," I said. She blinked, like she expected begging. My stepfather smirked into his water glass. The ice cracked. "I'll take my plate," I said, and stacked it with the napkin on top so the table stayed clean. "You don't have to be dramatic," Mom said. "I'm trying very hard not to be," I said. I carried my plate to the sink. The faucet squealed. I washed, dried, put the dish away. When I came back, my tote was already on my shoulder and my keys were in my hand. "Where are you going?" my stepfather asked. "To keep paperwork honest," I said. He laughed. "There's nothing you can do." I looked at Mom. "If you were sure of that, you wouldn't have said what you just said." Out in the driveway, the late sun turned the hood of my car into a mirror. I sat with the door open until the heat thinned, then popped the glove box and slid out the stiff envelope I kept there. Certified copy of the deed, trust acceptance page with my signature. Grandma's pen looping my name where she'd written, "Successor trustee." The clause I knew by heart. No sale, refinance, or encumbrance without the trustee's written consent. My phone chimed. I turned the volume down and opened the voicemail from earlier, saved at 1:14 p.m. Mom's voice was brisk. "We'll sign tomorrow morning. It's done." The next voicemail had a calm woman. "Hi, this is the notary. Just confirming 10 o'clock at Court Square Coffee. Bring IDs." She said the coffee shop like it was a neutral place, a room with muffins where nothing sharp could happen. I called back. The notary picked up on the second ring. "Hi," I said. "I'm the trustee on the Maple Street property. You'll be presented with documents tomorrow. I'm informing you there's no authority without my written consent." She was quiet. "Do you have proof of trustee status?" "I do," I said. "Certified copy with the recorder's stamp." "I'll note your statement," she said. "I have a hotline for situations like this. If there's a conflict, we won't proceed." "Please also note the location and time," I said. 10 a.m., back table. Court Square Coffee. "I'll log it," she said. I hung up and emailed the title officer I dealt with last spring, subject line plain. In the body, I attached the trustee acceptance and the certified deed copy and wrote one sentence: "No conveyance or refinance has my consent." Within a minute, the auto reply landed with the time, then a live response. "Received. File on review, hold pending verification." I exhaled through my teeth and held the phone to my chest like a warm pack. At the curb, a neighbor waved. I waved back. My screen lit again, family group chat. A photo of my sister's rehearsal bouquet, pink and white. "Family dinner tomorrow 7, someone typed. Then Mom on top of it, "We'll handle business first." I set the phone face down on my thigh. Then I picked it up and opened the doorbell app out of habit. The timeline scrolled to last night. At 8:12 p.m., my stepfather's voice drifted out of the tiny speaker. "She won't notice till after the wire." My sister laughed. The kind of laugh people do when something isn't funny but they want it to be. I saved the clip and forwarded it to the escrow desk with the same sentence I'd used for title. "No consent from trustee. Freeze if any refinance is pending." "Received," escrow wrote back. "File frozen pending trustee confirmation." They added the shop name where they'd seen earlier notary notes. Court Square Coffee, 10 a.m. I texted a friend who worked at a bank 3 towns over. "What's your branch manager's best practice on pre-wire alerts for contested property?" She called instead of texting and let me talk first. "Flag the address, not the person," she said. "If anyone tries to send a wire under that parcel, the manager will call the sender and the destination bank." "You can add a note." "Can I do that without the account info?" I asked. "You can request a precautionary note with your trustee docs," she said. "If he reads an account to you, don't repeat the whole thing out loud. Just confirm the last 2. The branch manager returned my call an hour later. He read an account number slowly. I didn't say it back. I wrote it. When he paused, I said, "And the ending?" He said the last 2, and I repeated them as words so they'd live differently in my mouth. 31, I said. "Got it," he logged. "Owner trustee declines consent. Pre-wire alert active." By the time the streetlights clicked on, the house behind me smelled like lemon cleaner and something burned. I hadn't eaten since noon. I drove to a strip mall coffee shop that stayed open late, ordered the plain sandwich, and spread my paperwork on a corner table like I was building a small fence around it. A barista glanced over. "Big test?" "Family homework," I said. I reread the acceptance page until the words turned back into lines. Then I drafted a one-page summary in simple sentences. Trustee since last spring. Consent required. No consent given. Any signature presented without me is void. I printed it on the shop's public printer and smoothed it flat with my palm. I added a sticky note to remind myself to bring 2 copies in the morning, one for the notary, one for whoever expected muffins with their signature. Mom called. I watched her name glow for 3 rings and then tapped decline. A text followed. If you make a scene, you're out of the family. I typed and deleted twice, then sent. I'll be at Court Square Coffee at 10. Leave the house out of this, she wrote. This is about the house, I wrote. It always was. The barista wiped a table near mine and nodded at the folder. You look like you're winning, he said. I'm trying to be clear, I said. He smiled like he didn't quite understand and walked away. I set 2 alarms, one for 8:30, one for 9:30, and put the phone face down. The screen still bled a little light at the edges. I slid the certified copy of the deed back into its envelope, tucked the summary behind it, and zipped my tote so the zipper sound felt like a line being drawn. On my way out, the bell over the coffee shop door gave a tired ring. The street was quiet. Somewhere down the block, a delivery truck hissed and settled. I sat in the driver's seat and held the key without turning it, listening to the night press its own stamp on the air. My phone lit in the cup holder with a new name I hadn't saved but recognized from the voicemail. The notary, I answered before the second ring. This is her, I said. Thank you, the notary said. Her voice had the calm of a checklist. I received your message. I've also spoken with my hotline. If there's a trustee conflict, I cannot proceed without your written consent. Good, I said. The meeting is still set for 10 at Court Square Coffee? Yes, she said. Back table. I'll note that you'll attend with proof. I'll bring the certified deed copy and the trustee acceptance, I said. Please add to your journal that consent is required and not given. I'll record it, she said. If anyone presents documents, I'll read your statement aloud before we even look at pens. That's all I needed, I said. She paused. For my notes, the role you're asserting? Successor trustee, I said. Control over conveyances, no sale or refinance without my written consent. I have it, she said. 10 o'clock. When the call ended, the night felt thinner. I started the car and drove 2 blocks, then turned into the shadowed lot behind the title office. The building was dark except for a low exit sign. I killed the engine and let the quiet catch up. I opened the glove box and took out the stiff envelope. The certified copy of the deed had that textured edge the clerk ran a stamp across last spring. On top was my acceptance page, my name where Grandma's trust named me. I ran a finger along the clause I'd memorized. Successor trustee controls all conveyances. No sale or encumbrance without written consent of the trustee. It read like a door that only opened from my side. My phone screen idled to black, then woke to the voicemail list. I pressed the one saved at 1:14 p.m. Mom's voice came through clean. We'll sign tomorrow. She can't stop it. I just tapped the next message, the notary confirming 10 o'clock, and let the words stack in the air of the car like proof labels. I slid the envelope back into the glove box and pulled my laptop from beneath the seat. The parking lot smelled faintly like hot tar cooling. I tethered to my phone and opened email. The title officer's reply sat near the top. Received file on review, hold pending verification. The timestamp was a small, steady anchor. I read it twice and then opened the thread to attach the acceptance page again, even though I knew they had it. Reattaching certified deed copy for clarity. I wrote, trustee consent not granted. A second ping came from escrow, short, careful language. Any refinance attempt will remain frozen pending trustee authority confirmation. I could picture the screen at their end with a red banner across the property address. I added the notary appointment to my calendar for 10 o'clock and typed Court Square Coffee back table in the location line, because I wanted the words to show up on my lock screen in the morning like a small billboard. I leaned back and closed my eyes and rehearsed the sentence I'd use at the table. Not an argument, a record. Please add to your journal, trustee consent is required and not given. I said it once out loud and listened to how even it sounded. No heat, just the shape of the rule. Headlights slid across my windshield and moved on. The title office wall held a faded sign about business hours that didn't apply to anything I needed. I checked the envelope a final time. Certified deed copy. Acceptance page. The flimsy stamped receipt from the recorder's counter that I kept tucked behind everything else like a talisman. I kept remembering the clerk's dry tone when she'd handed it over months ago. Don't lose this. And how I had nodded like I understood what I'd need it for later. The family group chat pinged again. A blurry photo of place cards for tomorrow's dinner. My name left off the end of a row that had cousins and plus ones. Mom typed, "Arrive by 7 business first." I typed nothing back. I said the sentence once more into the quiet, at the same pace I'd use in the morning. "Please add to your journal that trustee consent is required and not given." It felt like clicking a seatbelt. The door opened again. The bell gave a single tired ring. I didn't turn yet. I placed my left-hand stack a little closer to the center of the table and set my right-hand stack parallel. I walked into Court Square Coffee at 9:56 a.m. with 2 copies, one for the notary, one for whoever showed up. The bell still swung when the notary reached our table. "IDs, please," she said, opening her leather journal. "For your entry," I said, keeping my voice even. "Trustee consent is required and not given." I set the certified deed copy and my trustee acceptance on the table, then placed my license beside them so it didn't look like a challenge, just order. She read the acceptance, traced the recorder's stamp with her eyes, and nodded once. "I'm calling my hotline," she said. She stepped 2 paces away but stayed in sight. Phone to ear, pen ready. When she returned, she spoke like she was reading a careful recipe. "Instruction is, do not proceed without trustee sign-off. I'm logging the time and your statement word for word. Please add that I offered written authority," I said, tapping the 1-page summary, "and that none was presented by the other side." "I'll note that," she said, and her pen moved. Mom walked in late with my stepfather, sunglasses pushed up like a crown. She looked straight through me to the notary. "We'll sit," she said. The notary didn't offer chairs. "I'm not proceeding," she said. "There's a recorded trust, naming her as successor trustee. My hotline advised against assigning without her written consent. I've made a journal entry." My stepfather's mouth went hard. He slapped his palm on the table so the water glasses jumped. "You can't cancel this." "It isn't canceled," the notary said, unruffled. "It isn't authorized." She wrote again, saying each word as she did. "Attempted signing declined due to lack of trustee consent," and then she underlined the hour so no one could pretend it blurred. Mom's voice went thin. "Give me the paper," she said to me. I slid the photocopy stack toward the center instead of the certified original. "That's the policy summary," I said, "and a copy of the deed for you to read. The original stays with me." She didn't touch it. "You're not real family," she said, softer, like maybe the cafe air would hide it. The notary capped her pen. "We're done here," she said. "If you reschedule, you'll need trustee sign-off in writing. I'll provide a copy of my journal entry upon lawful request." My phone buzzed on the table. I didn't reach for it until they'd turned, and the door had rung once behind them. The subject line from escrow sat clean. "Freeze remains in effect, trustee authority not on file." In the body, 1 sentence. "Any refinance or transfer remains blocked pending your written consent." The timestamp clicked into place with the notary's ink. The notary exhaled. "Do you need anything else for your record?" "One more thing," I said. "Please add that I was present with certified proof and that no one produced authority to proceed." "I've added it," she said. Her gaze was kind without being on my side. "You handled that with clarity." "That's the goal," I said. By noon, the cafe had filled with laptops and half-eaten croissants. I gathered both stacks, slipped the certified copy back into its envelope, and paid for a second drink just to have a fresh receipt with the time. Then I walked 2 blocks to the recorder's building, the one with the scuffed floors and the counters that shine from paperwork instead of polish. The clerk behind the glass lifted her chin. "Recording?" "Notice of interest," I said, sliding a single sheet under the slot. "List pendens to block transfer." I placed the trust acceptance behind it and set the certified deed copy on top so she'd see the stamp first. "Parcel is the Maple Street address," she read, then made a small note on a yellow pad and turned to her terminal. "We add a flag to the parcel index," she said. "Any attempt to transfer triggers the note." She stamped the notice, one heavy thunk that felt like gravity, then fed it into a scanner that chirped twice. "I'll read the instrument number to you," she said. "No need to repeat." I jotted as she read, and when she finished, she looked up. The last 2 were 83. "Logged," I said. "Can I get a stamped copy?" She slid it back with a fresh date mark and a tiny raised seal. "Keep the receipt," she said. "If anyone says they didn't see the index note, hand them this." I tucked the stamped copy behind my acceptance page, then watched her type one more line for the parcel trustee contact, notice recorded, see file. The building hummed with old air. Somewhere, a printer started and started again like a patient cough. I paid the recording fee with my card and kept the counter slip because paper is what people respect once their talking fails. Outside, the sky had warmed into that flat blue that doesn't pick a side. I stood on the courthouse steps and called the bank manager. Update, I said. Notary declined to proceed. Recorder has a notice in the parcel index. Good, he said. Our alert stays. If any push is attempted, we'll call you. You can confirm authority by roll only. I'll confirm the end and nothing else, I said, and he laughed softly like he understood the rule and liked it. Back in my car, I sent one email to title with the stamped copy attached, and exactly 5 words in the body. Notice recorded file remains frozen. Then I closed my eyes and let my hands sit still on the steering wheel until the buzz in my arms emptied. The cafe receipt, the recorder's stamp, the notary's journal entry. I could feel each piece land in a row, like fence posts you can lean on. My phone lit with the family group chat. Dinner at 7, a cousin wrote. Dress nice, Mom added. Business first. I stared at the words and felt nothing. I opened a blank document on my phone instead and typed a title I'd avoided for too long. Notice to quit 30 days. With the file frozen, I prepared the paper I should have served months ago. I finished the title on my phone and let my thumbs slow down. Notice to quit 30 days. I kept the language bare. Permissive occupancy revoked. Trustee and owner demands possession. Surrender keys and remove personal property by the date stated. I added the Maple Street address and the quiet sentence that mattered. Attached certified copy of the deed and trustee acceptance. I printed it at my place because I wanted the clack of the tray and the smell of cheap toner to stick in my head. 2 copies, signature line for me, a blank for the process server's proof. I clipped the certified deed copy to the back so it faced out when you lifted the top page. Service only, the man on the phone said when I called the number my friend texted. His voice was dry and tidy. Post and mail or personal? Both, I said. I want no arguments later. Flat fee, he said, and named it. I'll email confirmation. Add this, I said. No entry without consent of trustee. Photograph the posting. Read me your incident log. I'll write it down. He did. I took it down without repeating the digits, then asked for the end. The last 2 were 59, he said. I wrote the words, not the numbers. What's your soonest window? I asked. Tomorrow early evening, he said. We can try for hand delivery first. If they refuse, we post. I'll schedule the civil standby separately, I said. I'll text you the stamped list pendens for your packet. Works, he said. Watch for my email. At 2:17 p.m., his email landed with the simple subject line, and a line I could say out loud. Service scheduled. Next day early evening. I printed that too, because paper weighs more than talk. I signed my notice, slid it into a large envelope for him, and made a second envelope addressed to Mom and my stepfather. I wrote notice enclosed 30 days on the outside in plain letters. I set a certified mail slip beside it and left it blank, because I wanted the postmark to be tonight, not tomorrow. The hotel restaurant had a private room they liked to rent for family things. When I walked in at 7, the host glanced at the list and then at me, and then at the closed door like this was a test I had to pass. I said my last name softly and smiled once without teeth. He opened the door. Family handles family, Mom said by way of hello. She air-kissed the air near my cheek and turned back to the head of the table as if my chair would pull itself out. The table was the kind with too many forks. My sister was practicing her toast under her breath. My stepfather poured water like he owned the pitcher. I set my tote on the back of my chair and kept my envelope inside. A server appeared with menus. My cousin lifted his glass. To love, he said. And everyone did the clink, even people who had nothing to say to each other. I kept my voice even when it was my turn to respond. To good paperwork, I said. A few cousins laughed because they thought I was joking. Mom didn't. Plates arrived, left, arrived. At some point, someone asked me to pass the salt like they were asking for peace. I passed it. I ate enough to not be the story. I checked my phone under the table once. The process server had texted a polite thumbs-up emoji and the phrase, on calendar. I put the screen face down. When dessert plates were cleared, a leather billfold landed in front of me so efficiently that the server didn't even break stride. He was trained for tables like ours. My stepfather tapped the billfold with 2 fingers and said to no one and everyone, "Family handles family." Mom lifted her water. "Thank you," she said, and moved on to talk about seating charts. I opened the billfold. The printed receipt sat clipped to the top, the subtotal, the service line, the totals column bold and black, $3,270. The server's name was neat at the bottom. The timestamp stared up from the corner like a small clock that told a truer story than my mother ever would. I slid out my card and set it down. The server took it without looking at me. When he brought the pen, I signed and left the slip with the merchant copy. I kept the customer copy, smoothed it, and put it in my tote. I recognized the last two. I didn't say them. See? Mom said brightly, already turned to the bridesmaids. Family? I stood. I'm going to get air, I said. In the parking lot, the night smelled like warm pavement and florist's tape. I leaned against a low wall and opened my banking app. I scrolled to the two things that always make my chest tighten: the tiny transfer for her dress, $428.77, and the venue deposit I'd fronted months ago because we're waiting on checks, the screen still showing the confirmation for the $2,200 I'd sent. I texted the two receipts to Mom with 3 short lines. Dress covered, deposit covered, paid tonight's bill. The images showed dates and times. I didn't add commentary. Her reply came fast. Stop keeping score. I typed, then erased. I took a photo of the printed receipt from tonight, the bold total in the corner with the time below it, and sent that too. I added one sentence. I'm keeping records. Don't ruin this, she wrote. This is about your sister. This is about the house, I wrote back. It always was. The hotel's back door swung and thudded. Kitchen staff carried out bags of linen, laughing softly, faces tired and open. I tucked my phone away and opened the tote. I took out the second envelope, the one with my signed notice, and the copy of the deed, and held it in my hands until the paper warmed. I could have slipped it under a door. I could have mailed it and let the green slip do the talking. But tomorrow a stranger would be the one to post in hand. Tonight, I wanted a room full of ears and a clock on the wall. I decided to deliver the notice where no one could pretend they didn't hear me. I walked back into the private room with the envelope in my hand and the clock on the wall saying the part no one wanted to hear. This is notice, I said. 30 days to vacate. Permissive occupancy is revoked. Trustee and owner demand possession. My sister went still with her toast card half raised. My stepfather laughed. One short bark. You can't evict your mother. I'm serving the document, I said. I slid the envelope across the table, so it stopped in front of Mom. Certified deed copy attached. She didn't touch it. You're not real family, she said, softer, the way someone tests a bruise. I'm the trustee, I said. I left it on the linen and walked out with my hands empty. By late afternoon the next day, the process server texted, 10 minutes out. I waited across the street, leaned on my car, and watched the porch through the thin shade of the jacaranda. He wore a collared shirt and carried a clipboard like a promise. He knocked, twice. When the door opened, he said it loud enough for the frame to hear. Service of a 30-day notice to quit. He held the papers steady. My stepfather tried to push them back with a flat palm. The man didn't argue. He set a copy in the doorway, posted another at eye level with blue tape, and read one sentence from the top. Trustee and owner demand possession by the date stated. He took a photo and lowered the phone. What time is it? I asked when he crossed the street. He checked his watch. 6:15. He wrote it on his proof and underlined it. Personal service attempted, posted and mailed completed. Email me the proof, I said. Photograph attached. On its way, he said. Keep the envelope for certified mailing tonight. I drove straight to the post office. The counter clerk slid over the green slips without making it feel special. I filled in the address, handed the envelope across, and watched her stamp the date so hard the counter shook. She slid a small receipt back. Keep this, she said, and initialed the corner. I filed it with the deed copy in my folder. My phone rang before I reached the car. You think a paper makes you tough? My stepfather said. I'll put security doors on this place tomorrow. You won't even see us. Any construction will be treated as evidence of holdover, I said. Leave the locks alone. He swore into the line. Try me. Don't, I said, and ended the call because hanging up is also a record. I dialed the sheriff's non-emergency line and held while a recording talked about forms and patience. A dispatcher came on, voice clean. I explained what I'd served, the 30-day date, and his threat about doors. We can schedule a civil standby for the day after, she said. 9 a.m., okay? 9 works, I said. I'll generate an incident number, she said. I didn't ask her to slow down. She read it in a steady rhythm, and I wrote without repeating. Confirm the end for me? The last 2 were 26, I said. Logged, she said. On that date, keep the order simple. Exchange of keys, peaceful move out. If anything escalates, call immediately. Thank you, I said. I sat with the phone in my lap and the post office buzz humming through the glass. My email chimed, the sound I'd assigned to business. Title had written back in the thread we'd been keeping neat. Trustee authority verified no wire permitted without your written consent. 1 sentence, 2 dashes, and my role doing the work a voice couldn't. I forwarded the title email to escrow with nothing added, because I liked the way their language clicked together. Received, escrow replied. File remains frozen. At home, I set the certified mail receipt on the counter and took a photo of it next to the clock on the stove because time is part of proof. I sealed the original deed copy back in its envelope and slid the proof of service next to it. The process server's email arrived with the photo of the blue tape on the door. The caption just the time and the property name. No faces. Mom called. I let it go to voicemail because I didn't need her voice recorded anywhere near what I'd done right. She texted instead nothing for a minute, then a long bubble that kept typing and erasing. A new group popped up on my screen with cousins and aunts and people who only called when someone had died. She added me to the family group chat just to say, "You'll regret this." I didn't delete it. By morning, the group chat had gone quiet, like everyone was holding their breath and waiting for me to apologize. I walked into work instead. The lobby smelled like toner and lemon spray. Our receptionist looked up the way people do when they're bracing for a delivery, and then Mom swept in like she owned the air. "You are not real family," she said, loud enough that the fern by the window could repeat it. I kept my hands visible. "Hi, Mom." The receptionist's eyes flicked between us. I reached into my tote and took out a second copy of the notice. I'd circled the effective date in blue ink so no one could pretend it was a suggestion. "For your records," I said. 30 days. Keys surrendered by the date that's circled. She didn't take it. "I am your mother. You're the occupant on a trust property," I said, and set the notice gently on the edge of the counter. "That's the only role that matters right now." She breathed through her nose. "You'll regret this." "The notice is served," I said, "and posted, and mailed, certified." I nodded once at the receptionist. "Thank you for witnessing the tone." Mom looked at the blue circle like it was a stain, then turned sharply and left. The door thudded. The fern stopped listening. At lunch, I walked 2 blocks to the sandwich place where my friend from law school kept a corner table free for people who brought problems on napkins. "Give me the bones," she said. "Permissive occupancy," I said. "Revoked. Trustee acceptance recorded. Recorder's stamp on the deed and the list pendens. Notary declined to proceed without consent. Title and escrow have the freeze." She tapped it into her phone as I spoke. "Short declaration," she said. "History of permissive occupancy. Acceptance as trustee. Copies of the recorder's stamps. Notary entry. Escrow freeze. 2 pages plus exhibits. Clean. Make it something a judge can read standing up," I said. "That's the only kind I write," she said. She tilted the screen toward me. "Plain sentences. No adjectives. I'll email it in an hour. Don't name people unless we have to," I said. "Roles are enough." "Already done," she said. "You'll sign and I'll add a proof." I bought her lunch and kept the receipt because time and totals keep better than memory. When her email landed, I read the declaration once at the table, and again standing outside, sunlight bouncing off the glass. It said exactly what happened without saying how it felt. Perfect. On my way back, I cut across the square and went straight into the county building, up to the recorder's counter where the glass has a scuff from every envelope it's ever met. "Chain of title on Maple Street," I said. "And I need one more certified copy clipped to my file." The clerk typed without looking at his hands. "You've got a notice recorded," he said, scanning. "We'll flag the parcel index accordingly." He stood, disappeared for a minute, then came back with a thin stack and a paperclip. He slid out the deed, the trust, acceptance, and my list pendens, each with a small raised seal like a thumbprint. "I'll attach a certified copy to your request file," he said, clipping it neatly. "Do you want a certified copy to take with you as well?" "Yes," I said. "1. There's a fee," he said, and I handed my card through the slot. He ran it and tore the counter slip. "Keep this," he said, and read an instrument number softly so the room wouldn't memorize it. The last 2 were 34. "Logged," I said, writing the words. "Can I have a printout of the chain as it stands today?" He slid a clean page across. "Ownership unchanged," he said. "Trust remains. Any attempt to record against it will ping the parcel note. We'd see you again." "I'll bring coffee when that happens," I said. He smiled without picking a side. "We're here until 4:30. I tucked the stamped copy behind the declaration draft and felt the stack settle into a weight that my body understood. On the way out, I passed the court hallway where people stand practicing their faces. A woman paced with a manila folder pressed to her chest. A deputy leaned against a wall and watched the clock, not unkind. My phone buzzed with a calendar banner. The text was plain, like all the ones that matter. Hearing available Friday morning quick order slot. I let it glow in my hand for a second, then tapped it open and held my thumb over the accept button, feeling the air change. I tapped accept and walked straight to the filing window with my folder open like a tray. Ex parte request for a temporary order, I said. Property management status quo. The clerk slid a blank form under the glass. Short application. Attach your declaration, the trust clause, and the lis pendens. I'll put you on the morning calendar. I brought certified copies, I said. I fanned the acceptance page with Grandma's handwriting, the deed with the recorder's raised seal, the stamped notice. The clerk's mouth made a small yes. She stamped the first page, one heavy thunk, and typed fast. You're on the 9 o'clock call, she said. Courtroom B. She read the case number softly while I wrote without repeating it. Confirm the end? The last two were 58, I said. Logged, she said, and slid me a pale slip with the time. I kept it because paper tells the truth when voices don't. The hallway was cool and smelled like floor wax. People practiced calm with their backs against the wall. A deputy opened the door at 8:59 and said, Phone's on silent. If you're here for ex parte, sit front. I did. On the record, the courtroom deputy said, and started reading names. When she got to ours, she added, Maple Street Trust temporary orders. I stood. Good morning, the judge said. His voice had the weight of a stamp. Tell me what you're asking. Maintain the status quo, I said. A narrow order barring unauthorized alterations and new tenancies until further order. Trustee acceptance recorded. Consent required. Not given. Proof? He said. I handed the declaration my friend drafted, the trust clause I'd memorized, and the certified copy of the lis pendens. Notary declined to proceed without trustee sign-off, I said. Title and escrow show freezes. I've served a 30-day notice to quit. He read quietly, lips moving a little. The courtroom's clock clicked once and then remembered itself. Opposition present? He asked. No one stood. He looked back at the page. We'll keep it narrow, he said. No alterations to the property and no new tenants pending hearing. The intent is to maintain the status quo. Thank you, I said. Clerk, he said, and the clerk moved like a metronome. She printed, stamped, and signed. Take a seat, she told me. And when I did, she called my name, held out a stack. Conformed copy for your records, she said. The order's effective upon signature. For the sheriff's civil desk? I asked. Drop one there, she said. They'll know where to clip it. Back in the hallway, I breathed once and headed downstairs to the civil window. The deputy at the desk flipped the order and skimmed, then nodded at the line that mattered. We'll attach this to your standby, he said. I scheduled for day 31 at 9 a.m., I said. He typed into a terminal that hummed. We're linking the documents, he said. I'll read the standby entry to you. He read it through. I wrote without saying it back. Confirm the end? The last two were 90, I said. Logged, he said. On that morning, call when you're parked. Keep your conversation at the curb simple. Keys, confirmation of vacancy, nothing extra. I understand, I said. My phone buzzed when I hit the sunlight, the sound I use for business. I let it play through to voicemail so the words would live there. The bank manager's voice was careful. Update on your pre-wire alert. At 3:41 p.m., a wire attempt bounced reason code, missing trustee consent. We've noted your role again. He read the destination bank without decoration. I didn't repeat it. I just wrote and circled the last two and said them out loud in the empty air so I'd remember. 61, I said. Then I saved the message and marked it with a star I'd never say. I forwarded the conformed order to title and escrow with one sentence. Order entered no alterations, no new tenants. Title replied first received. File remains on administrative hold. Then escrow, hold confirmed. I added the bank voicemail to my notes. 3:41 p.m. Attempt blocked. It sat neatly under the notary's 10 and the server's 6:15. Times turning into fence posts again. I walked back through the lobby in the same fern that had heard my mother call me not real. The receptionist glanced at the paper in my hand. Everything okay? She asked. Careful. It's orderly, I said. And that was the truth I could give her. At home, I slid the conformed copy into the binder behind the certified mail receipt and the photo of the blue tape on the door. I read the order once more, then closed the cover because I didn't need to feel anything about it. I needed it to exist. Mom texted a photo of centerpieces and wrote, "No drama tonight." I let my hand rest on the phone until the screen went dark. The house was quiet enough to hear the refrigerator start and stop like it had been given a small job. I stood at the counter and considered where the next sentence should happen. Not in a hallway where strangers practice their faces. Not in a voicemail where tone can lie. A place with chairs, with a clock on the wall, with a bill that comes out on paper and a server who can say what time it landed. That night, I chose the public place where the truth would be delivered cleanly. Sunday dinner looked the same, down to the coaster with the faint lemon ring I'd rubbed into the wood with my sleeve. The clock over the stove said 6:57. I set my tote on the chair, opened the flap, and took out the certified copy of the deed. I slid it toward Mom, paper face up, the recorder's raised seal catching the kitchen light. Then I placed the 30-day notice on top. "Read the top line," I said quietly. My sister stood by the sink with a bowl of salad she wasn't tossing. My stepfather watched me the way a man watches a fly near his glass. "Not now," Mom said. "We're eating." "Trustee since last spring," I said. Same tone I used with the notary. "No transfer without my consent. There's a court order barring alterations and new tenants. Day 30 is circled in blue. Keys surrendered by that date." My stepfather reached. I lifted the stack first and kept it an inch above his fingers. I read, clean and slow. "Permissive occupancy is revoked. Trustee and owner demand possession by the date stated." "Put it down," he said. "I will," I said, "when you've heard what you keep pretending not to hear." Mom looked at the stamped seal like it was a sticker a child had put there. "This is cruel," she said. "You're doing this to me." "I'm doing it for the house," I said, "and for the trust Grandma signed. I have a conformed court order in my binder. And title emailed trustee authority verified no wire permitted without your written consent. Escrow's hold remains. The bank left me a voicemail at 3:41 attempt blocked for missing trustee consent. "We can talk like adults," my sister said, voice too bright. "Not everything needs to be paperwork. Paperwork is how adults talk when money is in the room," I said. "You are not real family," Mom said, softer, as if softness could change the verb. "I'm the trustee," I said. "That's the role that controls the house." I set the notice back on the table and circled the date with my finger so she saw the ink I'd already drawn. I laid the certified mail receipt beside it, and the photo the process server took of the blue tape on the door at 6:15. A neat row. Proof, not performance. "Is this why you made a scene at the rehearsal dinner?" my stepfather said. "Paying a bill to show off?" "I paid because you slid the check to me," I said. "The receipt for $3,270 is in my file. The dress transfer and the venue deposit are there too. They're not the point. Possession is." He leaned over the table. "I'm replacing locks," he said. "Security doors. Tomorrow. There's a narrow order keeping the property as it is," I said. "No new tenancies. No alterations. If you change a hinge, the sheriff sees it. I've scheduled a civil standby for day 31 at 9 a.m. The dispatcher read me the incident number and I wrote it down. I'll confirm the end and nothing else." My sister set the salad down and wiped her hands. "Can we not do this here?" she said. "Please." "This is the right place," I said. "Same table, same coasters. No one can say they didn't hear." Mom kept her eyes on the notice like the paper might blink. "You don't get to throw me out," she said. "This is my home." "It's trust property," I said. "You've had permissive occupancy. It's revoked. The notice is the part people don't like because it's the part that doesn't care how they feel." "You're enjoying this," my stepfather said. "I am keeping records," I said. The oven ticked as it cooled. A cousin in the living room turned the TV down without being asked. The kitchen light hummed. "You think a judge will pick your side because you have stamps?" Mom said. "I raised you. I think the order already signed at the courthouse speaks for itself," I said. I filed an ex parte. The judge read the trust clause and the lease pendens and signed a narrow order to keep things still. The clerk handed me a conformed copy. I dropped one with the sheriff's civil desk. "Title and escrow have their holds. The bank has its alert. I don't need anyone to pick a side. The paperwork is the side." My stepfather nudged the notice with a knuckle. "You can't make me sign anything," he said. "I'm not asking for a signature," I said. "I'm telling you the date." He laughed. "We'll see." "We will," I said, and slid the notice back toward Mom so it touched her plate. "Read the first line. Then read the circled date out loud." She didn't touch it. "What if we refuse?" she said. "Then the next paper is called unlawful detainer," I said. "You don't want that. It comes with fees and a record. This one comes with a date and a key exchange." My sister whispered, "Mom," like the word itself could fix the math. I took the top page and held it where both of them could see. The seal caught the light again. The blue circle was steady. The words stayed true. Mom's voice finally found a place to land. "You wouldn't," she said. "I already did," I said. He showed up the next morning with a tool belt and a smile like a polite threat. "Here to measure," he said, already looking past me at the hinges. "Before you do," I said, holding the door at my hip, "read this." I gave him the conformed court order and pointed to the line that barred alterations and new tenancies. Beside it, the posted 30-day notice in blue tape stared back at both of us. He scanned, jaw working. Client said new security doors. The order says no changes, I said. If you install anything, you'll be the photo attached to the violation. He lifted his palms like a man dropping a hot pan. I'm not touching it. He handed the paper back, shrugged, and stepped off the porch. I'll tell him. Tell him the sheriff has a copy, I said. When he was halfway down the walk, I took a fresh photo of the posting blue tape, kitchen window in the reflection, my hand holding the paper flat, and emailed it to my record thread with the subject line, posting intact, 9:07 a.m. I wrote the time in the body, then hit send and turned the deadbolt once because I could. By mid-morning, my phone chimed with the title officer's name. Forwarding an internal note, she wrote. The line she'd highlighted was the kind you frame for your own peace. Any attempt to substitute borrower is blocked pending trustee signature. I read it twice, then replied with a single, received, because that word does more work than most sentences. At noon, the front curtains twitched. Mom's car idled at the curb, then pulled away when she saw me in the window. A minute later, my screen lit with the family group chat photos of flower arrangements, a cousin asking about the playlist. No one mentioned the blue tape on the door like it wasn't in every reflection of the house now. The handyman texted a photo from their driveway. A tape measure on his truck bed beside a cup of coffee and nothing else. Told him no work, he wrote. Good luck, I responded with, thanks, and saved the image. Not because I needed a photo of a tape measure, but because a timeline is a spine. At 2:18 p.m., the title officer pinged again. P.S., she added, and pasted a second internal line. Do not process any authorized signer updates without trustee verification. I pictured someone on their side dropping a little red flag into a field of green, and felt my shoulders loosen one notch. I forwarded both notes to escrow with no commentary. Their reply came back. Hold remains. No substitute signer action without trustee consent. I wrote the time 2:24 p.m. on a sticky note and pressed it to the inside cover of my binder. Paper to paper, the way I like it. My stepfather called and left a voicemail that started calm and slid sideways. We'll reinforce the back door, he said. And then he said my name like a dare. I didn't call back. I texted him a photo of the first page of the order with the no alterations line in focus and added, order is effective. He sent a single word in return that my phone auto-filtered. I deleted the bubble and kept the proof of delivery bar at the bottom of the thread because that's the only useful part of a message like his. At 4:05 p.m., the bank manager called again, the same steady voice that had put the pre-wire alert on the parcel. Quick check, he said. We're confirming our flags on the account. Can you confirm the end? 90, I said. Logged, he said. I heard typing. I'm adding owner declined consent to the internal note, along with the court order. If anything comes through, we bounce first, call second. Appreciated, I said. He paused. For what it's worth, this is tidy work. Tidy is the only version that lasts, I said. When I hung up, I wrote bank call 45N90, declined consent logged on the same sticky where the title times lived. Then I opened my email and sent myself the porch photo again with the subject, posting intact, 4:11 p.m. 2 entries, 2 times, same blue tape. In the evening, I drove by the Maple Street house slow enough to count the front steps. A plastic storage bin leaned near the porch. A roll of bubble wrap sat on the rail, catching the last light. Through the window, I could see cardboard lined up along the hall book boxes, kitchen boxes, labels written in my mother's neat, schoolteacher hand. Winter sweaters, one said. Cookware, another said. The third just said, Misk. I parked under the jacaranda, left the engine off, and watched them move through the rooms I grew up in, like actors in a play where the set was the point. My stepfather lifted a box with the confidence of a man who'd never read a caption. Mom tore tape with her teeth and smoothed it, then wrote one more label that said bathroom, like the room could be carried out if you just wrote it big enough. I texted my friend the lawyer. Handyman came, showed him the order, he left. Title added, substitute borrower blocked. Bank confirmed end. Log declined consent. All quiet. She responded with a thumbs up and, 2 weeks is a long, short time. It is. 2 weeks is enough time to plan something reckless, and also enough time to realize paper will outlast whatever you lift and carry. I sat there until my phone hummed itself drowsy, and the porch light clicked on with a little sigh. When I finally pulled away, I could still see the blue tape in my side mirror, a rectangle with words that didn't raise their voice. With 2 weeks left, Mom started packing, just not their names on the boxes. By Friday morning, the hallway outside courtroom B smelled like old wood and floor wax. I held my folder against my ribs and watched a deputy call names in a voice that could split hairs without raising itself. "Maple Street Trust motion on shortened time," she said. I stood. Mom and my stepfather slid into the second row, like they were late to a movie and hoped the plot would meet them halfway. The judge looked at us over the top of the file. "I have a rushed motion alleging an oral gift," he said. "Who's speaking for the movants?" My stepfather took a half step like he might be taller if he leaned. "It was promised," he said. "She knows that." "Do you have it in writing?" the judge asked. He opened his hands. "We lived there. That's the writing." The judge turned to me. "Trustee?" "Yes, Your Honor," I said. "Successor trustee under a recorded trust. I've accepted in writing. I brought the acceptance, the certified copy of the deed with the recorder's seal, and a notice recorded to preserve the status quo." "Hand it up," he said. I did. He skimmed clean and fast, stopped at the trust clause, and read one line out loud. "No sale or encumbrance without the written consent of the trustee." He tapped the page once with his index finger. "Anything else?" "Yes," I said. "There was an attempted refinance. Notary declined to proceed without trustee sign-off. Title and escrow both placed holds. The bank logged a failed wire attempt for missing trustee consent at 3:41 p.m. I kept my voice the same. There's also a doorbell clip from 8:12 in the evening where they planned after the wire. I can play the timestamp if needed. He didn't ask for the audio. He looked past me to the second row. "An oral gift of real property is not enforceable," he said, tone like a stamp. "The trust controls. The narrow order already entered maintains the status quo, no alterations, no new tenants. If there is a holdover beyond the 30-day notice, the remedy is unlawful detainer, which will be addressed in that forum if necessary." My stepfather tried to speak again. The judge lifted his palm a fraction. "There's nothing before me that changes the written instrument," he said. Motion denied. The clerk's keys clicked. She looked up at me. "Minute order will reflect denial and the status quo language," she said. "I'll read the case entry for your notes." She read a string of characters. I wrote without repeating them. "Confirm the end?" "With 81 at the end," I said. "Logged," she said, and slid a conformed minute order across the counter when I stepped to her desk. The raised stamp sat warm from the machine. I put it behind the temporary order in my binder, paper against paper, like a spine finding itself. In the hallway, the air flattened around the vending machines. Mom brushed past me, close enough that her perfume hit first. "You're still not real family," she whispered, like it was a blessing she could revoke. "I'm the trustee," I said. The words didn't crack. They found their chair and sat. Outside, the sun made the courthouse steps into something bright and unapologetic. I called the civil desk before I reached the bottom. "Confirming my standby for day 31, I said. 9 a.m. Maple Street, the deputy typed. I could hear it. "Standby's live," he said. "Have your paperwork ready when you call in. Keep it to keys and confirmation of vacancy." "I will," I said. On the sidewalk, I dialed the bank manager and left a message. "Court denied their oral gift motion. Narrow order remains. Thank you for your note on the pre-wire." When I hung up, my phone pinged with an email from the title officer, forwarding an internal line I didn't know I needed until I read it. "Any attempt to substitute borrower is blocked pending trustee signature." Under it, the earlier note about authorized signers. I replied, "Received," then forwarded both to my file thread where the notary's 10 sat above the server's photo of the blue tape at 6:15 and the bank's 3:41. I walked to the locksmith shop a block off the square because I didn't want this part living only on a screen. The bell over the door argued with itself. A woman behind the counter looked up like she already knew my story in outline. "Day 31, I said. "Morning. Simple rekey. I'll have a deputy on standby at the curb." She pulled out a small pad and wrote slowly. "Arrival time? 9:30, I said. "Civil standbys at 9. "Work order name?" she asked. "Trust name," I said. "I'll show you the conformed order when you arrive." She nodded. "We schedule that with a note," she said. "If anyone argues at the door, we step back until the deputy speaks." "Good," I said. She read the work order number into the quiet. I jotted it down and didn't say it, then asked, "What's at the end?" She told me, and I said it as words so it would sit right in my ear. 46, I said. Booked. Back on the courthouse steps, I texted my friend the lawyer a photo of the minute order. "Denied," I wrote. "Status quo intact. UD if needed." She sent back a single sentence. "Clean path. Clean is what I wanted. Clean is the reason I carried a binder instead of a grudge. I sat on the warm stone, flipped to the tab where day 30 glowed in blue, and wrote beneath it a short list. Call deputy at 8:55. Keys exchanged. No commentary. Locksmith at 9:30. Record changes at the counter before noon. The clock in my head became a set of chairs with names. My phone buzzed again with the family chat doing what families do: recipes, rides, weather. Mom didn't type. The porch cam sent me a motion clip of a box labeled MISC being carried past the blue tape. The word MISC meant everything we didn't want to name. It floated across my screen like an admission. I closed the binder and stood. The courthouse doors breathed out cool air as someone came through behind me. I put my thumb on my calendar and slid the appointment into the morning of day 31 so it sat flush against the standby. Then I called the locksmith back, just to hear the confirmation in a human voice, and not only as ink. He picked up on the second ring. 9:30, he said. We'll knock, you'll present the order, and if anything's off, we wait with the deputy. Perfect, I said. I confirmed the standby on the curb in the same breath, in case they didn't go peacefully. Day 31, I parked under the jacaranda at 8:32 and watched the porch through my windshield. The blue tape was still there, a little sun faded at the corners. My phone showed the standby pinned for 9 a.m., locksmith at 9:30, and a printed checklist on the passenger seat waited like a quiet witness. At 8:40 a.m., the front door opened. My stepfather carried a box labeled MISC, like it weighed a promise. Mom followed with a laundry basket and a rolled-up bath mat tucked under her arm. They didn't look at me. They set the last things in the trunk, closed it, and drove away without the ritual of looking back. I called the civil desk. We're clear, I said. They're gone. Deputies rolling by, the dispatcher said. Stay curbside. The patrol car eased past 2 minutes later. The deputy lowered his window and tipped his chin toward the house. Peaceful compliance, he said, like he was reading the end of a checklist. He typed something into his terminal and gave me the kind of smile people try not to show on duty. Have a better morning than the last 30. Copy, I said. He pulled away. I walked to the door at 8:47 and stood still long enough to listen for a breath that wasn't mine. Nothing. I pushed the key in, turned once, and stepped inside. The air was vacuum cleaner, warm and quiet. I set my tote on the counter and unfolded my printed checklist utilities current. No new locks. No alterations. Normal wear only. Power? I asked the list, then flipped the kitchen switch. Light. Water. I ran the tap until the line coughed and smoothed out. Gas? The stove clicked and flared, then went obediently back to calm. I marked each box with a small square check. I walked room by room the way the form asked. Hinges matched, frames unscarred, no fresh holes where a security door would have bragged. The back fence still leaned like it always had. The only new thing in the house was the kind of quiet that follows through. The locksmith knocked at 9:29. We'll start with the front, then the back, he said. I have the order if anyone shows, I said, and set it out anyway. He glanced, nodded, and got to work. Hands sure. When he finished, he dropped 2 new keys into my palm, cool and honest. Invoice emailed, he said, and left without saying what he thought, which is how I like my trades. At the sink, I rinsed 1 glass like I was teaching a class in clean. The checklist had a signature line and a time box. I wrote my name and the time as words, so the page wouldn't feel like a receipt. 10:15. The kitchen drawer by the stove was the one that collected things that never learned their job. Rubber bands, coupons, takeout menus with old prices. Under a nest of expired discounts, I found a plain envelope, yellowed at the fold. My name on the front in the kind of cursive teachers used when teaching mattered. I slid the letter out and leaned against the counter to read. Thank you for keeping a roof that stays kind, Grandma had written, her pen catching once where she'd pressed too hard on the K. A house is not a prize. It is a promise. The words were simple and heavier than the paper. I took a photo with my phone, 1 frame only, no filters. Then I slid the original into the trust binder behind the conformed orders, where receipts don't fight with sentiment, they hold it up. By late morning, I'd called the utility companies to confirm balances and left each call with a line in my notes. Current. I scheduled a noon appointment with the CPA my friend liked. Trust expenses, reserve targets, modest rent, I said. I want it boring. Boring is our favorite, she said. Bring the binder. I texted my cousin who was finishing nursing school. Room available, I wrote. Modest rent, month to month. If you want it, it's yours by the 1st. She called instead of texting and cried for 15 seconds in a way that made me look at the ceiling until her breath came back. I'll take it, she said. I can send the first month today. Bank transfer, I said. I'll confirm receipt. At 1:06 p.m., my phone buzzed with the bank's quiet ding. The memo line said her name. I called the branch to be my own witness. Incoming confirmed, the clerk said, and read the transfer reference out while I wrote without repeating. Last two? He asked. 63, I said. Logged, he said. I printed the bank acknowledgement at the library on the corner, because I still like paper best. I wrote the date on the bottom, and the words first month rent, in small letters that didn't need to shout. Back at Maple Street, I sat with the CPA on speaker and opened the binder where the tabs made a neat rainbow. We set reserve goals, marked the routine expenses, and decided which repairs were now and which were not yet. She said, "This is balanced." And I believed her. I scheduled a follow-up for next quarter and added it to my calendar so it would live somewhere bigger than a good intention. I carried the last of the old boxes to the trash and kept one to hold what didn't belong in a house anymore. The porch cam doorbell instruction card, 3 dried-out pens, a brittle rubber band that snapped when I tried to use it. I labeled the box out and put it by the door. The afternoon settled. Dust floated like it had nothing else to do. I wiped the lemon ring off the same coaster I'd rubbed weeks ago, set it on the table, and filled the kettle. When it clicked off, I poured slowly and watched the color move through the cup like it knew where to be. I made tea at the same table, placed a coaster under the mug, and let the house be quiet again.